Hadouken!
What's good, people? How's it going? And welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, please do subscribe down below, smash a like, hit the bell. Those things help out a lot. YouTube does notify people when we upload, so just make sure you hit that bell. Anyway guys, today we got a dope episode for you because it's all about the flowering stage and how you can take those flowers to the next level. Because everyone wants to take the flowers to the next level. It's all about the hard work that you put in and getting it out at the end, right? Now those massive flowers that look so beautiful that you sometimes see on Instagram or YouTube and all those stuff, it does not always come without key elements. There's some key things that you need to do and put in there that results in those beautiful flowers. So in today's episode, I'm going to go through what you can do to improve those colas and maximize the beauty on those flowers. So stick around, smash the like, because today's episode is going to be a banger. But before we get into that, guys, I just want to shout out everyone that's supporting on Patreon, man. If you aren't supporting on Patreon, join up with the ICANN VIP Bean Club, man. We got tons of free stuff going out to all VIPs, and we are on episode 7 now of the Soil Yourself Show, which is a Patreon only exclusive series, man. So if you want to join up with the fun, join up and miss out, and don't miss out on what's going on. Miss out? Don't miss out. Don't friggin' miss out. Now anyway, man, let's get into today's episode. Yes guys, and if you like big nice flowers, then I probably know why. A lot of growers take a lot of pride in their fat nice flowers, or even the smaller ones, after they put in such hard work over a number of months. Now while trichomes can coat the entire plant, sugar leaves and all that stuff, there's a lot more of that THC goodness concentrated in the actual flower itself. So a lot of times the bigger the better, but that's not always the case. Sometimes concentrations that are higher can actually be in smaller flowers, and sometimes those big flowers come with risks of mold and bud rot and stuff like that, just because of the size. But that said, if you invested time in the plant's veg stage and you chopped it and trained it and did LST and super cropping and all that crazy stuff so you can get that nice flat canopy with a lot of bud size, then it's an excellent chance that you probably end up with more flowers that you'll know what to even friggin' do with. But wait, who's complaining? No one's complaining. I'm not complaining. I love that. But there are a few ways that you can actually step up the size and the quality of your flowers during the flowering stage and get a really banging harvest. Now the first thing that everyone needs to do, but is often overlooked, is plan a paradise climate for your flowering plants. Now this is actually a quote that I got from an article I read recently, man, that you got to plan that paradise climate. If you don't plan that paradise climate, then you're all over the place. And that paradise climate changes. Paradise climate changes. It changes quite often. So it changes from seedling to veg and all the way through the flower. You gotta just keep that in mind. Always change with it, man. If you're changing your seedling from the seedling stage to the veg stage, it's changing from veg to flower, you gotta change that climate. So that said, it's always necessary to sustain the ideal temperature and humidity levels for your plants so they can reach the full potential. In the flowering stage, plants can tolerate a little bit more than 80 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 27 degrees Celsius, but temperatures any higher or lower can detract from the plant's energy from bud production. So what I'm saying is that I actually did a stress test recently and I popped some plants outdoors. I had them in an outdoor garage and it was super cold out there. It actually hit 0 degrees. So in that stress test, when it hit 0 degrees, I did notice a lot of the plant's production seemed to slow down a lot. It almost went to a standstill. A lot of the fan leaves just died off. They hung low and they started to shrivel up, and a lot of the flowers looked like they lost a lot of that water weight. So it literally seemed like it dried up a little bit on the plant. Now that is a very extreme condition, and a lot of people won't have their plants anywhere near 0 degrees Celsius. It just goes to show that a lot of the times the plant's energy can be diverted when it's under those stressful conditions. So you want to create that paradise climate. Paradise climate is super important. Now as the plants flower, you want to reduce that RH, or that humidity, by around 5-10%. You know, if you can get it anywhere from 40 to 60%, then that's pretty decent. But if it gets any higher, you can get bud rot, you can get mold. If it drops any lower, then you may notice other negative effects as well. So you want to make sure that your plants receive enough, but just not too much. Too much moisture can be bad. Now during this stage of plant growth, too much moisture will result in mold. During veg stages or seedling stages, it's okay. Plants actually like a little bit more moisture. It helps them to stay healthy, it helps them to stay happy. But during that flower stage, that's when you want to look out for it. Now, number 2, guys, is that flowering plants often need a lot of potassium and phosphorus. They love that stuff. They just love it. It's like when you're getting older and you no longer eat a lot of candy, but you start to like different stuff, like you really like that steak and all that meaty stuff that you probably didn't like when you were a kid, because when you were a kid you just like that candy to help you get that sugar rush. I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but I guess you get what I'm trying to say. Now, phosphorus is actually the crucial nutrient for early flowering plants. So when your plants, you just did that switch, that's a good time to use some of that phosphorus. It's actually the key ingredient that activates key growth regulating hormones for essential flowering. Bone meal worked great for me. I like using bone meal and blood meal. You guys would have seen a lot of worm castings as well on this channel, and those things actually help to ensure that your plants have phosphorus and they can grow some nice flowers. A top layer of worm castings as a top dressing or as mixing into the soil will also boost those phosphorus levels. Now, a lot of times growers can't increase mycelium in their soil, which with the simple DIY compost. Mycelium is actually positive beneficial fungi. It appears sometimes as mushrooms and stuff like that. It's pretty much a vegetative part of a fungus that turns into organic matter or food and ensures that your plants consume a higher rate of phosphorus, among with other things during the flowering stage. Now, the pH levels of the soil also affect how plants absorb those nutrients. A lot of growers will know if you're outside of that pH scale, then your plants will have trouble accessing nutrients. Certain nutrients will become locked out. So that's why a lot of growers recommend keeping the pH, around 6, 5.5 if you're going in hydro. You just got to make sure that everything is in check, because if you're outside of that, your plants will not be able to uptake. Now, towards the end of the flowering stage, you can cut down the amount of phosphorus you're feeding your plants and increase the potassium. So plants like the pK ratios during flowering, NPK, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, those are the three main macronutrients the plants they need to function. So the nitrogen, they use that a lot during the veg stage, and the PK, they like that more for flower. So think of it this way. When you're going down through the plant's life cycle, you go from N to P to K. So you can move along that life cycle. So you start off with the nitrogen, you add a little bit more phosphorus when you're early flower, and when you get into potassium, you can add that as the plant progresses even further through flower. It's a reminder to yourself as to how you want to feed the plants. If your plants have deficiencies of potassium and stuff like that, you may notice curled leaves, brown edges, and stuff like that. And little things like store-bought nutrients, or even just a homemade dried and powdered banana peel mixture nutrient mixture liquid mix-up can actually do a lot. A lot of people make banana teas and feed it to their plants, and that's a really real thing out in the Caribbean, man. A lot of people do that out in the Caribbean. A lot of people also know that you can improve your setup with using some CO2, because lights plus CO2 equals friggin' action, man. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can introduce CO2 into your garden, but this is a really easy way that you can use it. And this is that CO2 enhancer by TNB Naturals. So TNB Naturals has some good CO2 enhancers, and these, all you got to do is shake them up and hang them. The instructions are pretty simple, and they actually got refills, so you can actually refill what's in here, and it makes life super easy. So that said, it's a real practical way to boost your bud size in the flowering stage, and you can just increase your light, and along with increasing your light, you can increase some of that CO2, and that makes your plants act in a more efficient manner. Now, a lot of people would also know, on that note of lights,
this video is brought to you by Mars Hydro, where they have a variety of grow lights and grow tents for growers of all experience levels. Whether you're a small home grower or setting up a slightly bigger commercial operation, they have the tents and lights for you. They have tents for every space and need, including the new 2-in-1 tents. And they also have a wide variety of lights to choose from, including full spectrum LED and the new detachable FCE series. Links to all of the products that we use on this channel, including the Mars Hydro grow lights, are in the description below. Be sure to use the links below to support the iCanTHC channel. You can also save a few bucks on the Mars Hydro website by using the code iCanTHC at checkout for store-wide savings. Don't forget to use the code and save yourself a few bucks. Now, back to the video.
Now, it's not all about the light and the CO2, guys. With all lights, it's also important to have some sort of cooling or exhaust system to prevent heat stress and bring fresh CO2 to your plants. Without the right amount of CO2 in the air, then the plants just can't make enough energy and will eventually die. For the heaviest flowers and the highest yields, growers should actually increase both the CO2 level and the light intensity together at the same time. So pushing the CO2 level from its typical 350 to 400 ppm to about 1500 ppm can actually make the maximum amount of available available to your crop during this flowering stage. Now, a lot of people have like CO2 meters and stuff like that. You don't want to get too crazy with the CO2 because it can become harmful for you and your health and your safety and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just not worth it. So don't get too crazy and don't put your health at risk for trying to get some fat flowers and overwork your plants or anything like that. Now, a last tip, guys, that a lot of people do, and personally I like to do, is that I like to prune my plants during flower by removing some of the leaves. I'm not talking crazy, going crazy and cutting off everything and just only have the buds on there. I'm talking just a slight removing of the leaves. I'm talking, you know, just some of those that may reduce the airflow and may reduce the light from hitting some of the lower flowers and stuff like that. Get rid of those ones, man. You can improve the airflow and increase the amount of light that's distributed to those lower nodes. Simple. That's all it is to it. A plant with flowers near the bottom will seek to develop those flowers down at the bottom even during the flowering stage. So sometimes you can also do selective harvesting, and people did ask about the selective harvesting process, and that is just a simple process where you remove some of the flowers, you harvest those, and you leave the other ones on the plant to develop. So sometimes if you got some fat colas up top and you got some nice ones down at the bottom that have not fully developed yet, but they're looking like they're on their way, then you can trim off the top ones and hang those up. Sometimes if you even pull out the jeweler's loop or the trichome, and I did a video comparing all of those recently, check that out, then you can actually see that some of them may have amber, you know, and some of them may actually still be cloudy. So you can wait a little bit for them to turn. You can always keep monitoring them, man. So that's just a real good way that you can actually, you know, improve your yield by reducing the amount of fluff on your plant, so to speak, man. But all that said, guys, there are a lot of different ways that you can just improve your efficiency during flower and level up your flowering process. What do you do? Do you do anything different? Do you do some of the stuff I do? And if you don't, what do you do? Drop it in the comments and let me know. And it's always a fun time. So I've actually just chopped something down, and I'm going to check on him right now because it's a fun time. So thanks for watching, guys. Smash the like, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.